Hey everyone, I just wanted to give an update on my new theory of cancer, which is called Toxin Sequestration Theory, or TST for short. My theory builds on the research of MIT professor Stephanie Seneff. And then let me give you the three principles of TST. Principle number one is that cancer is not a disease. It is actually a symptom of toxic overload. Principle number two, cancer tumors are not malignant, selfish, uncontrollable growth. Rather, they are tissue created by the body intentionally for the purpose of storing and sequestering toxins. In other words, a cancer tumor looks a lot like a second liver because that's what the liver does as well. Principle number three is that the type of toxins that cancer tumors tend to sequester are toxins that produce something called ROS, which is reactive oxygen species. Now you might ask, well, what kind of toxins are those? Well, they're the type of toxins that you are typically familiar with. So things like heavy metals, those create ROS. Copper, that also creates ROS. Oxalates and deuterium. So those are things that you recognize as toxins, and those are the things that have been shown to actually store inside of cancer cells. But most recently, I considered the things that people call fuel sources for cancer, things that they say fuel cancer growth, and that's glucose and fructose, right? These sugars, they say, oh, cancer loves sugar, right? And I looked at it from a different perspective, and I said, what if glucose and fructose were not fuel sources, but rather were toxins? And in fact, they are toxins, because just think about someone who suffers from hyperglycemia, like diabetics, and they have massive tissue damage. They have damage to their eyes, retinopathy. They have damage to their kidneys, and they have damage to their peripheral nerves, and they have to get their legs amputated. So glucose is a toxin, and so is fructose. They both cause tissue damage. And cancer is trying to sequester those in an unselfish way away from the body in order to protect the body from the damage of glucose and fructose. Now, I extended it to one more toxin, which is ammonia. This is a subtle point. Ammonia is a toxin, but it's transported in the blood by glutamine. Glutamine is also considered a fuel source for cancer, but I showed that basically you can think of it as cancer imports glutamine in order to detox ammonia. And then most recently today, I extended it to one more toxin, which is seed oils, and I showed that cancer cells sequester and store seed oils. So things are going very well with this new theory of cancer. It's very exciting.